What is up, guys? It is the Silent Alchemist, and today I'm back to talk to you about a universe that I've been slowly creating in the background. This is my own personal D&D self-created universe that I like to call the Embers of Divinity. The universe is governed by 5 principles, and the being who knows of these laws possesses the key that shall open the door towards truth. The creation of this galaxy occurred when the 5 laws of the universe noticed that humanity had began conjuring up beliefs in supreme beings, deities of untold power, and omnipotent gods. The power of belief created a pantheon of gods, and in turn, religion was born. These small, insignificant humans had given rise towards something of worth. And the 5 laws saw this as an opportunity to create a new galaxy, a galaxy in which these gods would do battle until only one remained, the one true God. Within this new reality, 5 worlds were formed. Each one was dedicated to a specific god or religion. Then these gods were given an ember of divinity from one of the 5 laws. This ember would grant them the power to create, and the more that humanity praised and believed in that God, the stronger that the ember would burn. With a finite number of humans within each world, the ember of divinity would only burn so bright, and thus to attain more divine power, the gods would have to invade other planets, and in turn, destroy that planet's god. With that planet's god now destroyed, humanity would now have to worship the new conquering god. The worlds. Paradisio, governed by the gods Lucifer, the embodiment of evil, and God, the embodiment of good. The law that grant them the ember is the law of polarity. Everything has its opposite, yin and yang. The world of Paradisio is split into 3 realms. You have the upper realm, which is known as heaven, and that is where the embodiment of good, God, resides. Below heaven, you have the world known as Earth, pretty much. That is where humanity resides, and then below that, you have the realm of hell, Lucifer's domain, and Lucifer is the embodiment of evil. There is a 4th domain which is unknown to the gods at this point, but I'm going to let you know that that domain is purgatory, which we'll get into in a different video. But for now, let's dive into Lucifer's minions, his generals of war, the 7 sins. Now Lucifer is the embodiment of evil, and his evil attains power from the sins of humanity, and those sins are known as greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, sloth, and pride. Lucifer can then give fragments of his power to give rise to this sin into a demonic form. For example, he can split his power into 7 to create the 7 sins in their demon forms. These sins are essentially symbiotic, meaning that they need a host creature to attach to, and it's best if you can attach that sin to a creature that embodies the sin that they are. So for example, if there is a powerful warrior who's just attaining power through fighting, and he gets his power through anger and that kind of thing, then wrath would probably be the best symbiote to embody that creature. Now, since these demons are inhabiting a world that's basically using the format of Dungeons and Dragons, each sin has its own abilities. So for example, greed, if you're able to give him gold, he won't attack you for that turn, which is really good, but again, figuring that out is half the battle. With lust, if it is a male creature that has the lust sin, Males attacking that creature do half damage, while females, or the opposite gender, does double the damage. With Envy, after every attack roll, you have to roll a d6. On a 1, 2, or 3, you're able to steal one piece of equipment from the enemy target. And that just shows that they're envious of what others have, so they're trying to take it for themselves. With Gluttony, it's similar to that of Greed. If you give him food, then his attacks being dealt to you do half damage, because he's too busy eating. He's not so focused on attacking. Wrath, this is a really good one. Basically, anytime a player, NPC, whatever, deals damage to Wrath, they take an additional 1d6 damage in retaliation. And that's just saying, like, you attack Wrath, but Wrath is just so vengeful, so bloodthirsty, that they attack you at the same time. With Sloth, pretty much they could imbue you with their sin. So they can basically throw a piece of themselves at the enemy, and that target creature can't act for that turn. Either that, or they just move at half speed. I haven't decided yet. And finally we come to the last sin, Pride. And this one basically means that Pride deals the most damage when they've taken no damage. So the more damage that the sin of Pride takes, the less damage he will be able to dish out. And finally, since I did say that these sins are all symbiotic, they can fuse with one another to create a demonic being of unimaginable power known simply as the original sin. And he basically has all of the abilities that I just spoke about for each individual sin. So this is indeed a boss level character. Or again, they can all fuse back into Lucifer, and then he has the power of the original sin plus his own fallen angel powers. So this is literally almost like god tier battles in D&D with this guy. And now let's shift on over to the domain of heaven. And this domain is where the omnipotent, the all-powerful, the all-knowing God resides. So God is basically the powerfulest being on the plane of Paradiso, and under him you have the commander of his 10 angel warriors, and that is Gabriel. Gabriel is basically the weaker version, the good version of Lucifer. And under him, like I said, you have the 10 angel warriors known as the 10 commandments, and they are as followed. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall make no false idols. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain. You shall keep the Sabbath day holy. You shall honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. And the final commandment, you shall not covet. And going through the D&D abilities that each commandment has, beginning with you shall have no other gods before me, basically the way I interpreted that is that any attacks against that angel or that commandment has disadvantage. With the next one, you shall make no false idols. An enemy cannot use any magical items for a minute, and that only happens once. The next one, you shall not take the Lord's name in vain. An enemy cannot speak for a minute. You have to keep the Sabbath day holy. For a full 24-hour day, all the attacks by that targeted character basically deal an additional 1d6 of radiant damage. So basically they're saying this day is holy and they're empowered. The honor your father and mother commandment, basically a male and a female ally gain a +2 to their AC for that duration of the battle. You shall not murder. One target creature cannot be dealt a killing blow one time. Basically, if any attack would bring them to 0, it only reduces it to 1. You shall not commit adultery. A target character or creature skips his or next turn. You shall not steal. One target creature cannot use one single piece of equipment that you can see for a minute. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. A target cannot lie for 24 hours. And the last one, you shall not covet. You can switch the damage you take from an attack to another creature within 10 feet of you. And then these 10 commandments work similar to that of the sins. They're I wouldn't say they're symbiotic in nature, but the angels can remove their sin from within them, which is shown as a halo, and they can grant that sin to another creature. The stronger the creature is in their alignment, so for example, if they're lawful good, then the stronger the ability gets to them. So for example, the ability that honor your father and mother, that gives you a +2 to the AC of a male and female creature, maybe that +2 becomes a +3, that kind of idea. So with the 10 commandments, that's really boosting lawful good characters, and again, if they're like chaotic evil, they aren't able to grant the commandment to that creature. The one difference between this is that Gabriel cannot absorb these commandments into him. Gabriel is merely the general of the commandments, but the commandments themselves would go back into God and strengthen him even more with these abilities. Once Lucifer has fused back with his 7 sins, and once God has absorbed the 10 commandments into him, these two beings of good and evil can actually fuse with one another to create a being that is neither good nor evil. They don't have the capacity to be good or evil. They simply exist, and that existence is known as the Creator. The world of Shinto Ryu, the gods. Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun. Susanoo, the god of the sea. And Tsukuyomi, the god of the moon. The law responsible for the ember is the law of mentalism. All is one, and one is all. Upon the creation of Shinto Ryu, there existed 4 gods: Buddha the Enlightened, and 3 sibling dragon gods, Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Tsukuyomi. The humans of this world praised Buddha as their one true god, and this angered the dragon gods. Susanoo then commanded the very seas to swallow all seaside temples that were pledging their allegiance to Buddha, while Tsukuyomi obliterated the mountainside temples with a barrage of meteors. Amaterasu confronted Buddha directly, but with his followers and temples gone, his power was severely weakened. With Buddha the Enlightened posing no longer a threat, the dragon sibling gods created a celestial race of Dragonborn to guide humanity towards prosperity. These Dragonborn split into 3 clans, each clan devoting themselves to one of the 3 gods. Seinaru Hono no Ryu was the clan of the dragons of the sacred flame. Kurakeru Nami no Ryu was the clan of the dragons of the crushing wave, and Ainen no Suki no Ryu was the clan of dragons devoted to that of the eternal moon. With their guidance, humanity prospered and even evolved to be able to wield magic. This caused a major surge in the dragon god's powers, and unfortunately, it caught the attention of a jealous and powerful god, Dios. Dios then ordered his second-in-command, Lucifer, to awaken the serpent of temptation from the Garden of Eden, and to use it to divide the humans of Shinto Ryu into feral monstrosities. Before Lucifer landed on Shinto Ryu, however, he stopped on the planet called Jotnar. Here he met with another god, Loki, and the 2 gods struck a deal. The attack on Shinto Ryu began when Loki summoned the Frost Titans to wreak havoc, while Lucifer hid the serpent within the planet. The serpent then began to unleash its aura of sin, which led humanity to give in to lust, pride, wrath, sloth, envy, greed, and gluttony. With their main objective accomplished, Loki and his frost titans left the world. Time passed, and the serpent began to feed off of humanity's sins. No longer was it a tiny snake. Now it was a massive 8-headed serpent, known as the Yamata no Orochi. The Orochi began to rampage across the world, but the Dragonborn clans assembled their finest warriors and assaulted the otherworldly monstrosity. The battle lasted an entire day and night, and victory was almost claimed by the beast. But from out of the seas of endless stars, Susanoo emerged. With his godly powers, he imprisoned the beast in a cage of roaring tidal waves. Even in its imprisonment, the Orochi's aura of sin still affected humanity, and so the Dragonborn clans united their armies in an effort to invade the planet of Paradiso and kill Dios and Lucifer. To lead this army, the dragon sibling gods created a warrior, a Dragonborn named Ryuma, capable of wielding the 3 elemental affinities of each god. However, creating this being used up a lot of their power, and the Orochi felt the weakening of the gods. This is when it let out a horrendous roar, and almost instantly, every Dragonborn who had been bitten by the Orochi began writhing in pain, as steam escaped their bodies. Their blood began to boil as their flesh melted off, revealing their charred and burnt skeletons. These infected then began to attack savagely, ripping and tearing apart their own clansmen. Thanks to Ryuma, the casualties were minor, and they ended up killing off the infected Dragonborn. Unfortunately, those slain Dragonborn from the battle before against the Orochi reanimated, and they began to spread the disease across the realm of humans. The 3 clans then attempted to find a cure, but no means of magic nor medicine could stop this vile mutation. The disease became known as dragon rot. To try and end this disease, the dragon gods then created 3 swords infused with their sacred power. Ryuma took the blades and went onwards to kill the Yamata no Orochi. With the sword of crashing waves, Ryuma pinned down the beast, and with the sword of the eternal moon, he hacked off 7 of its 8 heads, and finally, with the sword of sacred flame, Ryuma was about to burn the Orochi to ash, but before he could swing the final blow, he vanished. With their savior gone, the plan to invade Paradiso was halted in its tracks, and with the disease spreading like wildfire, the 3 dragon clans couldn't agree to a singular course of action, and they isolated themselves, shutting down entry to the realm of Dragonborn from all of humanity. As days become weeks, the situation only grows worse and worse. The world of Olympus, the gods, Zeus, the king of the sky and of men, Poseidon, the god of the sea, and Hades, the god of death. The law that has given them their Ember of Divinity is the law of energy. Everything is in constant motion. Change the vibration, and you can change its rhythm. The world known simply as the sands. The gods: Anubis, god of the dead; Horus, god of the sun; Sobek, the god of fertility; and Sekhmet, the goddess of war. The law responsible for their divinity ember is the law of cause and effect, or better known simply as karma. And the final world, the War of Jotnar. The gods, Odin, king of the gods, Thor, god of thunder, Balder, god of light and purity, Loki, the trickster god, and Tyr, the god of justice and war. In the last law, the law of time and space, the creation of dimensions, alternate timelines, and reality. A game of alliance, trickery, deceit, and war will be waged throughout these 5 planets until only a single deity is in control of all of humanity, and that deity will combine the 5 Embers of Divinity to ascend into a new law of the universe, one that will change all creation.